This is a 16mm film of a carnival parade in our city. Does it make sense for archives to preserve these kinds of movies? This High 8 film shows a century-old tradition in our city. The bakers stand on a hill, throwing out bread for the children to catch. These images are important to preserve, because it's a visual part of our history. And not to forget this single 8 film of our annual market. This is our history. These kinds of films must be preserved. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Because films degrade, especially magnetic videotapes, digitization of vintage movies is becoming a more and more urgent challenge for archivists. And they need to build up the knowledge for this important task.
Per, we need to discuss the digitization of films.
That's correct, yes. Over the past few years we had a campaign to digitize many inventories and publish them on the internet. And we were able to connect some of them to scans that we made or already had been made by volunteers of ours. Also we digitized and described and made available online thousands of photos. That's nice. We're on the right track. But we also have many films. And although we have almost 100 hours of digitized film, it's only the beginning. There are a lot of films that should be digitized too. Let's first have a look at what kind of films we have. Because it's interesting to see, is it very old material like 8mm or 60mm? Or is it younger like, for instance, VHS?
We have different kinds of films, such as this 8mm film. And the 16mm.
Okay, yeah.
And another 16mm.
Okay, that one is, for instance, it's a problem because it needs rewinding, I think. We'll have to look closer to that one.
Yes. But also Betamax.
Yep.
High 8.
Yeah, High 8, yeah.
And VHS.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. All right, that's a start. But we do not need to go into everything in detail now. Mobireel Unit 2, there we can see all kinds of sorts of films closer. If needed, we can look there and study it. So we don't need to take a real good look at it now. There we can also see how to preserve the films, how to prioritize them for the digitization. And don't forget the correct storage conditions.
But what about copyright? For the preservation of the contents, it can be important to digitize the films, but can we also put them online?
Yes, that can be a problem, but we are always allowed to make a preservation copy. But for publishing, we need to have the copyright permission of the owner, of the filmmaker. Or it should already be in the public domain.
Well, then we should start studying the unit.
The digitization of vintage films is difficult because of the numerous formats in which the movies were recorded. This can be challenging when we want to digitize these films. Moreover, it can become difficult to find the right equipment with which we can play the movie. It is clear that preserving vintage films by digitizing them is going to be a challenging task. But also a great reward because of the attractiveness of film that is an appealing way of showing our history. And imagine if these images of a famous man from our city who needed to be washed by nuns were not preserved. Surely the loss of this story would be a loss to our history.